Right, so Bob, can someone online give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Good.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to get us started. So hi, NAYGN Durham community. My name is Desmond Flowers, and this is the first hybrid event I'll be hosting with NAYGN. I'm grateful to Eddie, NAYGN Professional Development Chair, for giving me room to lead this event. Eddie is here with us in person to manage the virtual space. Dario is Professional Development Lead like myself, and is backup for Eddie. I want to recognize Danil, who is with us on the call and is planning to lead the question and answer period, and Vishesh, President of NAYGN Durham, and our extended NAYGN leadership team for the part of today's event. So NAYGN provides opportunities for young generation of nuclear enthusiasts to use different critical skills, create lifelong connections, engage and inform the public, and inspire today's nuclear technology professionals to meet the challenges of the 21st century. So we're going to look at the safety slides. Can we? So if you're with us in person, the Center of Canadian Nuclear Sustainability, this applies to you. Is anyone in the room first aid qualified? You are? Okay, perfect. So we will be, I'll look to, definitely not sure, unfortunately, sorry, you're too important right now. I'm going to look to Owen to lead us in that. And then there is a first aid station located on the second floor of CCNS. We shouldn't be on that floor, but there's also two defibrillators, one on the first floor by the washrooms and one on the second floor, west stairwell. Yes. So if site information, so emergency alarms, if the fire alarm sounds when you're in the building, exit through the safe emergency exit. There are two emergency exits, stairwells on the second floor, and you should be there. But one safety exit is on the southern side, and one is on the northwest or northeast side, and then we'll exit from the door to the bottom. If you're on the first floor, there are several emergency exits. The main entry double doors, which a lot of you came from. On the south side, and an emergency exit in the kitchenette, and one just outside the kitchenette in the hallway. Exit through the safest and closest door. Emergency accounting is on the southeast side. Walk them during inside CCNS on the main floor. If you need any help with that, someone will be able to help you direct you. It's just in front of you. Can we go to the land acknowledgement slide? I'm happy to give this land acknowledgement. I wish to acknowledge that the Darlington and Pickering sites are in the shared traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewa and Mississauga Anishinaabe. So now I'm going to, so here's some, due to the large group size, we will be muting all lines. During the presentation, please post all your questions in the chat. We plan to voice your questions during the answer and question period. You can post your questions at any time during the presentation. Please also put the corresponding presentation page number so we can bring it up when responding to your question. If you miss the question during the call, we plan to follow up with Shriram and get back to you shortly. I would now like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Shriram Srinaram, PhD, PNP, Director of Innovation, Kinectrics. So Shriram has over 25 years professional experience in technical areas such as chemistry, waste management, decommissioning, tritium technologies, and project management. Shriram joined Kinectrics in 2007 after his early career with Pava Atomic Research Center in India and as a postdoctoral research at McMaster University. Shriram became a principal scientist with the Radioactive Materials and Chemistry Division of Kinectrics in 2016 and has a proven track record of leading technical excellence as well as innovation in a wide range of functional areas. More recently, he championed the company-wide Technical Excellence Seminar Initiative. Since February 2022, Shriram has taken on the role of Director of Innovation at Kinectrics. In 2016, Shriram was awarded the CNA Innovative Achievement Award for developing and deploying novel solutions to address complex technical challenges in the areas of nuclear power plant chemistry and waste management. Shriram is a world-class innovator and leader in the nuclear industry. As a leader in Kinectrics, Shriram has represented the company in several national and international forums such as COG, CSA, ISO, EPRI, NII, and IA. Shriram is passionate about growing Kinectrics' innovation portfolios, implementing new ideas to improve the electricity generation industry. On behalf of everyone attending this event, I would like to welcome you, Shriram, and give you the stage.
Thanks, Desmond. Thanks for the nice introduction and good afternoon, everybody. All the NAYGN members in attendance here on OPG CCN site, as well as those of you online. Welcome to this presentation. I consider it an honor and a privilege to be presenting to the budding stars of our nuclear industry. You are the future of the nuclear industry, and I hope that through this presentation, I'll be able to share some fun facts, some innovation case studies with you that Kinectrics is involved in. And last but not the least, career advice. I think you all are looking forward to some of those. I'll be talking about the 5 pillars of what I consider professional excellence and 11 principles of career success. So let me start. We'll start with some fun facts about me. I belong to a family of musicians, so you see my small family there, and the youngest music lover there is our little Shih Tzu. And what you see on the right-hand side is a recent. I'm also a professional musician. And my way of giving to the community is to support my family in this. My wife runs a music business herself. She teaches music from home, and I also support, the community in terms of giving back, in terms of teaching students music on Sundays. It also involves teaching some special needs kids as well. What you see on the right-hand side is a recent concert I played in Small World Music. Again, I'm not going to show you the entire concert, but just to give you a feel for what it is. And presentation to the band now after that small clipping that you all heard. I'll start my innovation journey with Baba Atomic Research Center. So after completing a master's in analytical chemistry from the University of Mumbai, I joined India's premier research center. It's a world-class research center with a strong nuclear training school program. It was a very intense nuclear training school that I had to go through. It's like doing a second master's. Following that, I got to work with some of the best and the brightest minds in the country on a number of subjects that are relevant to the nuclear industry. This includes recovery of uranium from ores, nuclear fuel reprocessing, and high-level waste management. It was a very intense period, and it was a huge learning experience for me. I learned a lot about nuclear at Baba Atomic Research Center. That's what laid the foundation of my career in the nuclear industry. So it also resulted in about 28 peer-reviewed publications. These are all very high impact factor journals that are relevant to the nuclear industry as well. What you see at the bottom is nuclear technology. It talks about a new process called DIMEX process. It's an innovative process that we developed for treating pressurized heavy water reactors. This is what heavy water reactors are called in India. High-level liquid waste that comes from these reactors is essentially from the nuclear fuel reprocessing operations. We developed a new process to treat it. And of course, this resulted in several best paper presentations, and the crowning jewel of it was the Young Scientist Award that was given in recognition of all of the scientific research that I was involved in and published as well. After about 5 years in Baba Atomic Research Center, I decided to broaden my horizon and travel to Canada as postdoctoral researcher at McMaster University. Again, on day one, throughout this presentation, I'll also be talking to you about some of my life stories, and I think through a storytelling approach, I'll try to convey some of the key information. My initial week at McMaster, the chief scientist of 3M company, 3M is an innovation pioneer in the industry, came to our lab, and he came up with 2 samples from their competitor, which was Paul and Millipore. And the challenge my team was given was to develop a membrane or a membrane filter that has a throughput that is 10 times its competitors without loss in separation. Now, if you look at it, even logically speaking, it is it looks like a serious challenge, a serious problem to solve. This is because for getting higher throughput, you need more pore size, which means the membrane or the filter becomes more porous, which means there is a loss in separation. Now, what they were asking from us was considered seemingly impossible to achieve at that time, but we made it happen. And this is how we did it. We developed a new platform, and also on top of it, they also wanted us to develop a filter that was inherently defect-free, which was considered a significant challenge in those days because pretty much all the industrial filters that were available, especially for nanofiltration and reverse osmosis applications, had pinhole defects. And it was a big challenge for the industry then. So you needed something that none of their competitors could do, essentially 10 times the throughput without losing separation. So this anchored, the solution that we came up with is called anchored gel membranes. It's a platform that was developed by the team. It essentially involved taking a microporous substrate, filling it with a polymeric concoction that was then polymerized to form a gel that filled the entire cross section of the pores. What it resulted is in a defect-free separation layer. And because it was very low density polymer, it also could see 10 times the throughput. So inherently, we came up with a solution that eventually was successfully commercialized by 3M company that resulted in millions of dollars of revenues for our customer then. So that is my story with McMaster and 3M. After my stint at McMaster, I joined Kinectrics in around 2007. And again, I joined Kinectrics when it was a relatively smaller company, about 250 staff members. Something that your generation may not be very well aware of is the fact that historically, the various utilities and some of the vendor companies were all one company called Ontario Hydro. So it was Ontario Hydro, Pickering Nuclear Division, Darlington Nuclear Division. And Kinectrics was, the predecessor company to Kinectrics was called Ontario Hydro Research Division. So the story goes, when I asked some of my mentors who were from the Ontario Hydro days, said, what is, on my day one, I asked, what does Kinectrics really do? And I was told that, when the utilities have challenges that require an innovative solution, they come to Ontario Hydro Research Division, which is now Kinectrics. Kinectrics essentially does the very same thing. We look at our customer challenges. These are typically utilities such as OPG, Bruce Power, Hydro One, and we come up with innovative solutions to address the customer challenges. And I'll go through some of these challenges over the next few slides. To begin with, let me start with this one. This was a very unique challenge that came my way. This was what is called no path forward or orphaned waste streams that were present in our national laboratory here. And there was a vendor down south of the border who would take it, but they would charge a huge sum of money because of the significant what is called tritium surcharge associated with it. So some of these waste streams, the cost for disposal was close to $250,000 even in 2000. 12, 13, 14 timeline. So we had to come up with a clever solution. One thing that I thought about was why are we sending our problematic no path forward or orphaned waste streams? Why are we sending this down south of our border to our friendly neighbor's backyard? We need to come up with a solution within Canada. It needs to be a Canadian solution. It needs to be a made in Ontario solution. That resulted in coming up with the universal separation process. This is a very simple process, has essentially just two key steps. So you take mixed liquid waste. This is essentially oils, solvents, PCB contaminated oils, or niche organic waste that comes from fuel processing type operations or R&D operations. And essentially mixed waste contains both hazardous and radioactive contaminants in it. So you take this waste, you treat it through two simple steps. One is dehydration to remove the moisture and hence tritium associated with the waste, and then a cyclic acid-based treatment process. So what you see on the top right-hand corner there is a simple depiction of the success we received. This is a visual representation, and this is real waste samples from the drums that came to our facility from our customers. This is what you see on the left-hand side is radioactive waste, mixed waste that contains a lot of tritium and pretty much most of the alpha and beta gamma emitters you can find in the CANDU nuclear industry was there in those samples. We dehydrated it and treated it through the cyclic acid-based treatment process, and you see clean oil that looks as good as new. If you look at the new oil, it is pretty much, that's how it looks. So essentially, this is the only process of its kind in the world that removes all radioactivity from waste to what is called unconditional or free clearance or free release limits. So this is one of its kind process. One thing is we could do this work for much lesser cost as compared to our competitor down south of the border. And it resulted in us safely treating this waste, because what this process really does is it removes the radioactivity from the waste and concentrates it in a small volume of secondary waste that goes back as stored. Eventually, it will go to a repository for storage as solidified immobilized waste. Essentially, you take about 200 liters of this waste, a drum, and you end up with about 6 to 12 liters of secondary waste where all the radioactivity is concentrated. The bulk waste then goes off for conventional chemical waste incineration that can be done in the province of Ontario itself. So essentially, you take what is in the nuclear realm and you clean it up and you could disposition it off in a non-nuclear realm. Okay. Now, this is another problem that the CANDU plants in the 2005 to 10 timeline were facing. And there's a story behind this as well. When I joined Kinectrics, initially I was working on a number of projects that many of my colleagues were essentially running. As a new employee, I was, I got to work in some very interesting projects that they were running. But as a function of time, I felt that I needed to have my own projects. So I went to my mentor then and asked him, I told him that I want my own projects. And he said, if you want your own, go get yours. And that was I think that was great advice. And he didn't just tell me to go get my own project. He also told me how to do it. He kind of in very simple language explained to me how this can be done. So he said, start off with attending technical seminars, workshops. Some of them could be just next door. This was a workshop that was organized in 889 Brock Road by OPG, and it had all the Canadian utilities and international utilities in attendance. It was a 2-day workshop, and the workshop was talking about rapid degradation of hydraulic fluids in the balance of plant system. So this is the turbine governing system that has this hydraulic fluid that is used. It was degrading during use, and there were several forced outages during that period that could be directly attributed to the degradation of this fluid in the plant. So there was no obvious solution to this. And I'm not an expert. I didn't begin as an expert in this subject. There was only one connection to this. This hydraulic fluid is actually, chemically speaking, is a phosphate ester fluid. And the fuel reprocessing work that I did at Baba Atomic Research Center was also a phosphate ester fluid. So that fluid also degrades during use. So my understanding of the fluid degradation of a similar chemical nature, that is what I brought to the table. But I needed to understand this system, how does this work? So I'll talk about this. One of the ideas I will talk about is mastermind networks. There was an OPG expert in this called Dr. Staniewski. So I asked Dr. Staniewski, I told him I would like to help him with this. I said, how can I help you? But I said, before that, I need to understand this subject better. So what should I do? And again, reaching out to him helped out. He had written 2 state-of-the-art review articles on this topic in a journal. So he gave me those, and I said, tell me one document that brings it all together, the entire story. And he's recommended an APRI report. And it is, it's still, I consider this the Bible of that particular system. It's about 300 pages long. Spend the next couple of months, weekends, reading on it, trying to really understand that, when you get a report, it is only information. You need to take that and convert it into knowledge, and then eventually into wisdom. So the knowledge aspect of it is, trying to understand it, assimilate it, and also discussing with the expert. The wisdom part is actually the R&D project where we better understood the problem and came up with a solution. Long story short, what we can say, this is one of the flagship projects that was highlighted as part of the CANDU Owners Group R&D program, CMNC initiative, where this R&D program resulted in identifying the root cause of the problem, which was essentially design deficiencies. And we came up with a solution. And I'm pleased to say that Darlington Nuclear India Refurbishments is implementing the design change. Similarly with Bruce as well. Now Pickering is going to be decommissioned shortly, so it makes sense to have a design change implemented. So what we did in that case is we came up with a suite of unit operations that removes the contaminants from the fluid sooner than it's being formed. So we came up with a very innovative process, and it also involved some development of dry ion exchange resin that is used for efficacious treatment of the fluid. And I'm happy to say that these have been adopted by Pickering, Bruce, and Darlington. So bottom line is, this is a story where the story starts with, I want my own project, to getting to seeking advice, reaching out to my mastermind network, learning about the subject, eventually writing a proposal, winning the work, and running the project, both from a project management standpoint as well as technically coming up with a solution, and it is being implemented in this station. So it's come a full circle. A problem that resulted in multiple forced outages has been resolved through this particular initiative. Okay, and along the way, of course, I have been fortunate to receive a number of awards and accolades. What you see on the top left-hand side is the Young Scientist Award for developing a new process for management of high-level liquid waste. The middle one is the Innovative Achievement Award from the Canadian Nuclear Society for developing the universal separation process and the process for to understand the root cause of degradation of the hydraulic fluid and its treatment. What you see on the right-hand side is recognition that I received from OPG for my work on the hydraulic fluid issue. Okay. Now let's start with Kinectrics. One thing I would like to say about Kinectrics is I consider myself very fortunate to work with some of the best and the brightest minds in the industry that are also very hardworking. So I got to be mentored by a number of experts when I joined the company. The team that I was associated with had about 15 odd people, experts in the team. I was perhaps the youngest member of the team, and 13 out of the 15 members had PhDs. So these were experts from the Ontario Hydro Research Division days who had such a broad spectrum of knowledge. I call this tribal knowledge. It's very difficult to find that knowledge in documents or reports. You learn by being with the masters. You learn, and typically during a working day, it is after 5 o'clock that when they're done their usual day-to-day work and projects, and they are happy to talk. And that's when it would start. And I think as one other key criteria for younger staff members to be mindful of is, be a good student. If you're a good student, you will soak in the tribal knowledge, what the masters, the minds have to offer to you. Okay. Talking about Kinectrics organization and innovation, Kinectrics does a lot of innovative work, and which is spread across our 8 technology platforms or 8 divisions. And at the foundation stone of that, which is on which all of these, our innovation rests, it's our innovation hub. So pretty much every division within Kinectrics does innovative work. They come up with innovative solutions to customer challenges. So we have a number of divisions, including our nuclear materials management division, our materials and major components division, which deals with fuel channels and steam generators and other such challenges. That's also the division that works a lot on AI/ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning type topics. Our nuclear equipment solutions division that does nuclear parts qualification, reverse engineering, and builds kits. Our inspection maintenance system, and which has a number of tools to their credit, including what many of you may be familiar with, the CWES tool, and the radioactive materials division, which does a lot of good work in the characterization realm. They also do a lot of good work in the tritium technologies, waste management and decommissioning realm. And our nuclear safety licensing group, our isotopes group, I talk a little bit more about it, our lutetium-177 isotope that is used to cure prostate cancer that is being produced through CRISPR reactors, and our design engineering and services group. You will meet many of my colleagues from that team in the utility space, both in OPG and Bruce Power. They do a lot of good work in, and of course, our transmission and distribution as well. The bottom line is technical excellence and innovation are Kinectrics' core values. I'll now go through a few slides, give an overview of our innovation hub. We respond to customer challenges through innovative solutions and embracing technological advancements. So we have a systematic approach to ideation, incubation, and commercialization. We also have partnerships with innovation clusters and like-minded organizations. This includes OPG's Canadian Centre for Nuclear Sustainability, the Nuclear Innovation Institute, and Advanced Nuclear Research Centre, University of Strathclyde. Again, the next slide talks about innovation project examples. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's just to give you a feel for the breadth of the work we do in the innovation space. This includes machine learning, developing and deploying self-healing materials, our technologies for condition monitoring of cables, our medical technologies. This includes medical mask testing and isotope production, our inspection technologies, robotics tooling and inspection, our facility development, advanced manufacturing. This is 3D printing and its applications. I'll talk a little bit about these as innovation case studies in the next set of slides. And training and visualization, this augmented virtual reality, and of course, waste management and decommissioning technologies as well. So it's a broad spectrum of work we do in the innovation space. Over the next few slides, I will talk very briefly about the various innovation projects that are either have been recently completed or are currently ongoing. The idea is not to talk about every detail of it, but rather to sort of give you an overview of what we are doing in that space. The first one is machine learning. And here there are a number of applications we are looking at. One is essentially filtering noise and chatter from inspection signals. So this is a project we are doing in collaboration with OPG, and it is to generate predictive models for fitness for service assessments of major CANDO components. We have also deployed this to develop machine learning algorithms for noise cancellation of signals used to assess the health of transmission and distribution lines. And the last one is, of course, computer vision to help automation of engineering change control processes and associated tasks. So this computer vision software that was developed helps reduce effort, improve schedule, and reduce errors. Again, this is just a small subset of the work we do in the machine learning space. The next one is 3D laser scanning. Many of the attendees here are familiar with 3D laser scanning. Again, what you see on the right-hand side is an example of that. That's Kinectrics laundry facility that was 3D scanned. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the benefits of 3D laser scanning. I'm not going to go through all the details here. But needless to say, there are huge benefits of 3D laser scanning. Additive manufacturing is the next one of our case studies. And here Kinectrics has partnered with an industry leader in additive manufacturing in Burloak to supply additively manufactured parts for the nuclear sector. We are collaborating with various CANDO utilities, both Bruce Power and OPG, to manufacture and qualify additively manufactured parts for use at stations. And we are developing a standard framework and qualification process for it. And the advantages of 3D printing or additive manufacturing is it addresses some of the obsolescence issues that the industry is facing. It increases manufacturing speed, it increases component efficiency, and it addresses the issues surrounding manufacturing of parts that are very complex to produce. And of course, digital part storage. What you see on the right-hand side is a qualification process that we are developing. Again, I don't intend to go through it's too difficult to read, but it is an involved process that Kinectrics has expertise in, and given our decades of experience in nuclear parts qualification. Okay. The next one is again a flagship. Something that I'm very proud of because I come from this technical team or wing of Kinectrics, Radioactive Materials and Chemistry Services. When COVID happened, one of the key things that we saw was counterfeit masks that were supplied to the industry. And there was an immediate industry need to come up with a Canadian solution to qualify these masks, test these masks, ensure that they meet the industry standards and the medical needs as well. So this is to keep people safe. Now, Kinectrics was already in the business of testing filters and masks, a PPE essentially for the utilities. So we used that knowledge and understanding to very rapidly, once we came to know there was an opportunity, within about 3 months, we came up with a full-fledged lab that is the first Standards Council of Canada accredited facility that can perform all the 5 tests required for qualification of medical masks within Canada. There was no other company that could do all the 5 tests. There were 2 US ones though, but we needed a Canadian solution. And there were many vendors in the general industry who were also entering the medical mask market because they saw the need there for the industry. They also saw a business opportunity there, but there was a need to qualify this. And what you see on the right-hand side are examples of some of the tests that we do. This is our mask testing facility. Okay, and again, the general message that you will see in all of this is what I call agility of the organization in coming up with a rapid solution in response to industry needs. Now, this is another such solution, lutetium-177. We all know the story of NRU shutting down and the need for production of radioisotopes for medical applications. So Bruce Power and Isogen, a joint venture company between Kinectrics and Framatome, has installed an innovative isotope production system, making Unit 7 of Bruce Power the first power reactor in the world to successfully produce lutetium-177 at a commercial scale. And what you really see there are real images of a patient on the left-hand side with a number of malignant tumors associated with the prostate cancer issue, and following treatment, the improvement in the patient's condition. Now, there are a lot of nuances to isotope production using power reactors. It starts off with starting with a stable isotope, which needs to be enriched, which is ytterbium-176. It undergoes irradiation in Bruce Power's reactor. It then goes to a GMP processing facility to purify lutetium-177, and then it goes to a drug manufacturing facility where it is coupled with an agent that is then injected into the patient for treatment of prostate cancer. Again, an industry need that came up and we rapidly deployed. What I'm very proud to say is all of this, whether the mass testing one, the lutetium one, or some of the others I'm going to talk about, all happened during peak of COVID. It was the 3 problematic years that the industry was facing. And I think that kudos to my team in Kinectrics for coming up with this, for our what I would call ingenious and innovative approach to solving the industry need and the need of the masses in general, especially in case of the medical radioisotope kind of applications. The next one is Spot Robot. I'm sure folks from OPG has seen this in action. There are a few that OPG has in-house that it operates as well. Again, this is, we call it Spot the dog. It's our canine. It does a lot of useful things. And I think we are looking at a number of standard as well as new applications of this Spot robot. This includes radiological characterization, performing automated visual site inspection, and manipulation tasks, simple manipulation tasks. There are a number of them that could be done. I'm not going to go into the details, but again, very versatile tool at our disposal where we're taking what is commercially available and leveraging some of our expertise in areas such as our tooling expertise, our outage expertise, and our radiological characterization expertise, and bringing it all together to help do work at the nuclear power plants in an efficient and safe manner. The next one is smart materials. This is NAYGN self-healing dielectric fluid technology. Again, there's a lot of information here. I'll simplify it for you. Many of the cables used in the industry are called fluid-filled cables. So essentially, there are cables that run across the ocean underneath that transmit information that that is used for a number of applications. There could be issues where there is a submarine that is floating on, below water and could sort of accidentally hit it. There also these cables. There are underground cables everywhere. These filled cables essentially have a dielectric fluid that is there in these cables. The cables degrade as a function of time, and you could see everything from pinhole defect to cracks and other degradation issues with the cables. What we have done here is Kinectrics has come up with this technology called NAYGN self-healing technology. So it has two components to it. It is the dielectric fluid itself and the catalyst. So what happens is, as a function of time, as the cables age, and if you see cracks or pinholes, they'll leak this fluid. This fluid, though, when it leaks and comes in contact with oxygen from outside, essentially forms a gel and hardens. So it heals. It's like, you have a leaky pipe, but there is something inside the pipe that essentially, as it drips, it kind of solidifies and closes the crack. I'm sure you've seen this in some of the shopping channels as well, products that, sort of are self-healing, so to speak. But this is very complicated than that, and it's a very real application and need for the industry that this technology has addressed. The next one is another flagship innovative solution of ours. It's our state-of-the-art laundry with a novel byproduct recovery system. Again, this is something that I'm very proud of because I have been involved in it right from helping write the proposal to seeing it through its operational phases and problem solving as well subsequently. So we started off essentially with 4 walls, something like the Costco warehouse. And from there on to full-fledged operation, it was close to a year or lesser in the peak of COVID. It's a significant achievement. Prior to this, the Canadian utilities were sending their PPE and cottons down south of the border to a vendor in the United States. Having a solution, a made in Ontario solution keeps job within the province of Ontario. And this is a state-of-the-art facility. This facility was designed by our Kinectrics US team. What you see on the right-hand side it has got all the state-of-the-art conveyor belt type technology. It has got RFID detectors, so every garment that comes in can be monitored. You can find information about it as to how many times it is monitored, how many garments underwent repair, and all the details are available through this state-of-the-art laundry facility. And of course, now we also have what is called our T-squared water manufacturing facility. We also manufacture these plastic suits that go into the reactors. So again, state-of-the-art facility, and perfect example of innovation, agility, and rapid response to customer needs to develop a made in Ontario solution for our customers. What you see at the bottom is our byproduct recovery system. It's one of its kind facility that recycles 80% of the water. Again, environmental stewardship and sustainability are the core values that we have ensured that we operate our laundry facility under. This system does a fabulous job. Number of unit operations. I'm not going to go into the details. Happy to talk to you about it, but great facility, state of the art, 80% up to 80% recycling rate for the water that goes into it. So use less water. We recycle the water. We are environmentally friendly and all that. Yeah. Next one is virtual reality. Now, this is an example of what we have done here is taken our technology that we developed a decade ago called Advanced Dose Exposure Planning Tool. It's a virtual reality simulation. And this now brings together a number of add-ons or input, including the laser scanning, what is called particle swarm imaging, virtual reality simulation, radiation transport simulations, and gamma spectrometry and other data that are brought into this virtual reality simulation module. And this is used to for dose rate field and shielding visualization. Now, again, PSIM is something, a technology that Cavendish Nuclear has developed. It helps visualize or image a number of field radiological measurement data. And the rest of the technologies that are listed, they're all innovations that Kinectrics actively pursues and has expertise in. The next one in this is actually demonstrates how dose rate fields and shielding visualization can be done. So what you see at the background here is radiological sources. And these are obtained by making field measurements and putting that into particle swarm imaging module. And subsequently, it helps us visualize, plan for dose shielding and visualization. What you see there is a kind of an animation of a man or a woman going into the radiological area. As they near the radiological source, you will see the color change on the animation there from white to amber to red. And when you install a shielding block, it actually helps you visualize in real time how much shielding can be obtained and what level of shielding is required. I'll just let the animation run for a few seconds and you'll get a better feel for what I'm talking about. Again, as the individual nears the radiological source, they're seeing more of the dose and it turns completely red. And now now you have a shielding block that has been installed here. And again, you will see as they near, the head is red now because the head is going above the wall there. As it turns around the block also, you will see the individual will see more dose. The next step right here. You will also see the effect of increasing the shielding as the animation goes on. Again, this is going around the shielding block. Subsequently, you'll see another shielding block added and you'll see the effect. So now you have added another shielding block and you see the effect. Again, the numbers on the right-hand top side keep changing. That's actually the real-time dose rate as a function of shielding. Okay. So some very, very interesting innovations in this space. I'll move on to the next one. This goes on for a while. This is a problem that we helped resolve for OPG. There were two problematic downgraded heavy water streams. One involved desalination of alkaline treated heavy water, and other one is high DOC heavy water. Again, we developed innovative processes to successfully treat the D2O to meet station upgrader requirements. What you see on the right-hand side, there are real samples from fluid that was obtained from Darlington, and post-treatment, it looks clear, not only visually, it also chemically and contamination-wise, it is clear. The last one of it is scepter process. Again, this is a process that is used for selective removal of carbon-14 from waste ion exchange resins. And again, it is a chemical extraction process. It's a patent pending process that selectively removes carbon-14 and so that it can be reused for other applications. So generating value from waste is the key theme right there. And this is in response to a real challenge that the industry is facing with aging ion exchange resins and carbon-14 coming out of them. Okay. Now I'll move to the last but not the least important one, career advice. So again, I'll go through these in terms of 5 principles, which are essentially pillars. I call them 5 pillars of professional excellence. First one is coaching and mentorship. It's very important to find a good coach and a mentor. They don't necessarily have to be from your organization. It could be outside the organization as well. That is the first one. Second one is having a student mindset. Even today, I consider myself a student of innovation, a student of waste management. Even after working for close to 25 years in the field, I still think I'm a student. I'm just an older student. That's it. I'm still learning every day. And you never know who you can learn from. You can learn from even your co-op students, not just your elders in the organization. The other one is taking ownership and accountability for your own professional career and your growth in the organization. The fourth one is broaden your horizon. Often we come into the organization from either engineering or science or management or finance schools, and that is good, but that's not enough. We need to learn other skills, and I'll talk a little bit about it more. The final one is mastermind network. Developing a mastermind network is always helpful for career growth, and I did talk about mastermind network in some of the previous slides as well. Okay, in the interest of time, I'll go through some of this very quickly. I'm happy to share some of these slides with you. I'll go through the 11 principles quickly. The first one is build and nurture your network. And I think one of the key things is when you attend industry meetings, don't be shy. Shaking hands, remembering names, and delivering 110% when tasked to do a job or a project is what has worked for generations, and it still holds true. And one of the books I recommend, it's a very old book, but I recommend all of you read is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The second one is build skills that are rarely found together. Again, I'm a technical guy, but with a PhD in nuclear science and technology. But one of the things that has really helped me is gain skills that are not found together typically with the technical realm. This includes project management skills. This includes business development skills, and very importantly, finance skills. You need to be able to manage money, the project finances especially, and to ensure that your projects are all profitable, and they do. And so there are other skills that you must that are desirable, but not something that your competition could have. It would help you in your career. The third one is it's not enough to be just hardworking. Smart work coupled with hard work is what results in success. And I call this having a founder's mindset, going above and beyond your role or job description in any position, regardless of whichever organization you are, is the key to success. The other one is as you climb up the ladder, leadership chain or hierarchy, one of the key things I have found useful is being a servant leader. Show up in person to work. Be closely associated with your field teams. There's a lot of learning on the job in the field. Okay, and again, finally, maintain a realistic work-life balance. I'll talk about the fourth and fifth. The fourth one is prioritize your learning. Often learning can occur for free. It's not your organization's responsibility necessarily to ensure you're learning. You can do this on your own. I have learned a lot. I'm a power user of the public library system, where I've learned a lot about management ideas and business development, innovation management, and other skills. Also, there's a lot of good information in EPRI and COG reports. Please read them. I'm sure through OPG and Bruce organizations, you have access to these reports. These are a wealth of information and knowledge. Change takes time. Many of you work for large organizations, and as the organization gets bigger, there are more processes in place which could be challenging to you. Okay. I know I'm running a little behind time. I'll be quick. So I'll just go through the headlines now. I'm happy to for you to have a read through these. First one is always ask good questions and ask them early. Thoughtful questions are very helpful. One of my supervisors insisted that as a new employee, when I went into a seminar, he told me to ask at least 3 questions. I was very nervous initially. I thought I would ask, what if I asked a dumb question or a question that didn't make sense? But eventually, I got the confidence, and what that did is help me focus on the presentation because I had to ask a thoughtful question. Right? See, the next one is establish productive daily habits. Needless to say, this is, waking up early, getting enough sleep, exercising, judicious use of time are all very important. Working on your sales skills, very important. It's not enough to do good work. It should also ensure that the good work that you do is known to other people in your organization and in the industry. Practice self-advocacy. Promote your work shamelessly. This is what I say. It's your job to communicate the value and impact of your work. No one else is going to be doing it for you. The 10th one is be gracious with your praise of others and your kindness towards people you help. People notice and remember it for years. Don't compare yourself to others. Give back to the community and learn and coach others. That's the best way to give back. Again, the last one is, of course, financial literacy. As young professionals, if there is one book that I advise everybody to read, please read The Millionaire Teacher. It's written by a Canadian high school teacher. This is not often taught in school, But this is something I found very useful as you all start off your career, early career. This has made a difference even in my career. Okay. The last slide, of course, concluding remarks. Again, we have gone through all of our innovations. I've given you some insights into our innovation hub and shine a spotlight on some of the innovative technologies Kinectrics has developed. Of course, career advice for young professionals. Sorry, we ran out of time, so it was a little fast. Happy to share this presentation, but what I've done is 25 years of work experience. I've tried to distill it into 11 principles. There are a lot of actions here. Please go through it again after the presentation. Happy to share it with the NAYGN audience. Happy to answer your questions. And again, thanks for coming. Happy to sort of continue our discussion. I hope it has been a useful exercise for all of you all in terms of learning what we do in the innovation space and also in terms of career advice.
Hey. Amazing presentation. I have like a lot I want to follow up on, but I'm going to pass the mic to Danil to lead us through the question and answer period. So Danil, you can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Desmond. Thank you for that presentation, Shriram. It was great to learn about the technical aspects of the presentation and non-technical aspects of the presentation. Before I get into the questions, I just wanted to let everyone know that there are some questions that are being posted in the chat, and then there's some questions that are on the floor. I'll cover the questions that are in the chat. Before I go into the questions in the chat, I just wanted to ask Shriram if the presentation, which has some helpful advice and technical information, if that will be available for sharing and distributing with our members.
It will be. I will make a PDF of the file, and it's currently very huge because there's some videos in it. And I will send it to Eddie or Desmond, and they can share it with the members.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll go to the first question in the chat. The question is, notwithstanding all the concerns related to the proliferation, how do you think we would succeed in convincing the world that closed nuclear fuel cycles is the way to go and harvest more clean energy?
Wow.
And this is related to slides 6 to 8.
Okay. Closed fuel cycle, I'm a big fan of it because that's where I started my career in India in Baba Atomic Research Center. The challenge that India had then was there was a dearth of natural uranium ore in India. Things have changed subsequently. Canada has an abundance of uranium in Saskatchewan and other places. So we are not looking actively at a closed loop cycle, but India was or still is. And the advantage of that is you take the uranium, it goes into Canada in a pressurized heavy water reactor, and then subsequently you take the used fuel bundle, you declad it, you solubilize it in nitric acid, and you create the next generation of nuclear fuel, which is essentially a mixed oxide fuel. So essentially, you take the existing fuel and you continue to use it. And the other thing is, there is also a concept called partitioning and transmutation, for example. That is essentially what comprises the closed fuel cycles. You take the uranium or you make it into a fuel bundle, goes into the reactor, gets irradiated. It can be used again. Eventually, it can go into what is called a reactor that does partitioning and transmutation. So essentially, it breaks down the radionuclides into sort of other radionuclides, and ultimately it becomes something that is, so to speak, non-radioactive or less hazardous. So that essentially what industry needs to look at. It's not looking at it currently because it doesn't make business sense. But I think eventually, when we talk about clean energy, ultimately the closed loop system is what is something that the industry needs to consider. It will happen in a few decades' time, but it's something that the industry needs to work towards. Ultimately, we need to take that waste and do partitioning and transmutation. So essentially break it down in a nuclear reactor to essentially innocuous products. Okay.
Thank you, Shriram. Now, if it's okay, I'd like to go to the next question. And the question is, so Kinectrics is focused on innovation, and innovation is a creative process. So you can't tell someone to create something on the spot. So how does Kinectrics search and identify potential opportunities? Does it go to customers? Is it from experienced employees? Is it from the industry community, the research community, or is a mix of both? If it's a mix of all of them, then how do you prioritize?
Good question. I'm getting some really good questions. Again, innovation is everybody's business in the organization. Innovation doesn't necessarily span a few technical experts. It spans across the entire breadth of the organization. And that's what I strongly feel. We look at a few different ways at innovation. One is obviously we look for customer challenges. So we really want to solve real world problems. We don't want to, so we look at customer challenges and try to come up with innovative solutions. There are a number of so there is one thing that is called innovation culture. How do you breed a culture of innovation within the organization? The second one is it has to do with culture, people, processes. And again, processes, tools, and techniques, they all form part of it as well. You need to have a culture of innovation within the organization, which means you need to encourage ideas. And we have a way of doing it within Kinectrics. We have a number of what we call, we have an innovation program management system that brings the processes and the tools and techniques called Plan Box. Recently, there was a challenge in one of our facility, and so one of my co-op students, Anshu, sitting here, put in a Plan Box challenge. And we asked the entire company to respond to it. We got fabulous response. 300 people viewed it, and we got 12 fantastic ideas. And we are going forward with 2 of them. So an example of where we crowdsourced ideas from within the company. And believe it or not, the entire rank and file of the company respond to it. It's not just our technical experts, our technicians, or even our co-op students responded to it. So we got some fabulous ideas. So again, culture of innovation is one aspect. The other one is hire innovative people. And that is a key thing that I look at even when I'm hiring my co-op students, some of them are here in the room, I actually give them an innovation challenge, a real industry challenge, sorting and segregation of waste, radioactive waste. These are bins that are there in our waste management facilities that comprise a mishmash of so many waste streams, everything from metals to, this is non-processable waste in bins. How do you sort and segregate these waste? Come up with a conceptual solution for it. That was their interview challenge. So when we are hiring, we are actually looking for people who can solve problems. They're not going to solve the entire problem in that interview, but it helps understand their thought process. And when we look at hiring, are we finding the right people who can innovate, who are innovation conscious, or innovation, who like to innovate? So that starts with the people, and of course, you need to communicate at every level. So we have a multitude of ways we communicate our innovations. Everything from my presence here, talking to your generation about innovation, to our own internal company, ways we can do our newsletter or visual management board, and again conferences. So we communicate about our innovation that enthuses the people within your organization and people in the industry as a whole. So all of this need to come together. And prioritization, of course, we look at the business need. If it doesn't make business case, we will not proceed with it. I think it has to make business sense as well. And we obviously have tools, techniques, and processes within the company that, again, it will take too long for me to explain all of them. But again, we have, needless to say, we have systematic ideation, incubation, and innovation. The entire gamut of innovation. We have a strong process that is in place, along with tools and techniques. And of course, the key is innovation is not possible without the right people. And we are fortunate that we have some of the best and the brightest minds in the industry work for Kinectrics today. That's where all our innovations come from, our people. Okay.
Thank you, Shriram. Now, I see that we're getting close to 1 p.m. So and we do have a number of questions in the chat. So what I propose is to take those questions, and if there's any other questions that are sent to us or that are on the floor, and to put them together and send them to you so that you can respond after the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so if that's okay, then I'll pass the word back to Desmond.
Okay, thanks, Danil. Yeah, so just thank you to our Kinectrics guest speaker, Shriram. We are fortunate to have you with us, and I hope we do get to plan something again in the future. This was an amazing presentation, so I loved it. It was great. Thank you. And thank you also to all our NAYGN Durham members for being with us. It has been a great experience being here with you today. If you're interested in attending other NAYGN events, we are having some coming up. One is about project management, a virtual event with Project Management Institute, Ottawa Valley, OS, scheduled for tomorrow from noon to 1 p.m. Also, NAYGN is working with Partners for Life blood drive to offer the chance to donate blood at any Canadian Blood Services location now until September 2nd. The event is now complete. I hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, you have a little bit of pizza at the end and some water, and help yourself, and then choose, please network with Shriram if you have more questions, and please stay. Thank you.